Auth66. I will get this right today because I did pass kindergarten and I can count, even though it was in French. Day 10. So I was like racking my brain about what I could talk about today. And I thought I could actually do something a little funny. Not like funny haha, just something that I actually get questions about from people. Where did the name B4 Networks come from? I think when you're choosing a business name, it's such like a personal thing. Sometimes you put your actual name on it. Sometimes you try to be clever, or maybe even some people be punny. And I don't think there's like one right way to do it. In fact, B4 Networks did not start as B4 Networks. We were cleverly called PC Mechanic with a K, just to be different. But that back then we were selling, mostly, computers off of a skid, like off-lease computers. And, really the business model was very different back then. I don't even think managed services were a sparkle in our eye, but when we were switching, we had a conversation, Brian and I, about, what that would look like and how we would need to change. And there was like a bunch of names that we threw around. But, being the creative, I'm still creative now, but the creative at the time, I was like, well, talk to me about like what it is you want to do. And he was like, well, the whole center of, being a managed service provider is to get to things before it happens. And I was like, well, we could, say before, but it felt like it might get a little bit lost. So we thought we could be like B4. And, the idea is to project, that we get to things like what he was saying before they happen. I don't know if that's always, how it works. You still have to be reactive. The goal is to try and have conversations though. So at least you're keeping those things back and forth. And it felt like a really good fit. And we put networks because a lot of what we were doing in that point of managed service was really helping clients to be able to be secure in how they would do their networking, including softwares, including certain things as part of it to make sure that they had the level of equipment that was required for security purposes. We had a lot of places that we took over that were just using like consumer grade firewalls, routers, whatever's, which I'm sure there are people that know how to make that work for a managed service. I'm not trying to tell anybody there's a right way or a wrong way, but for us, we were pretty, even though there is a right way or wrong way, but that's not this video. But we weren't, trying to judge anybody. We were just coming at it from like, if this is the best practice and we're trying to make sure that we handle things the best way possible, then that's what we're going to do. And it was like, let's talk about this before there's a problem. Let's, consider this. And what's really funny is we actually asked our staff, I don't know, like maybe 6 years ago. And one of them was like, oh, I thought it was B4, like, because the way the logo looks is like it's an exponent, like Brian to the power of 4, because there's actually 4 of us in our family. So myself and Brian and our 2 children. And I was like, that would have been clever, but like, they were a sparkle in our eye. I think only maybe one of them, might have been pregnant with one of them when we decided on the name. But no, it really is the idea that like we can be proactive. We can, not just as an IT provider, but as business owners ourselves who have to face the same struggles as our clients face. We can have these conversations. That's what a managed service provider to us does. They manage the service that you get, but also help you manage how the technology integrates into your company. It's really tough for me because when I was thinking about what I could talk about with Auth66, I was like, well, I'm not a tech, so I can't always talk about the parts that, of what we do that benefit our clients because sometimes it's technical in nature. But one of the things that I think that we strive for with all of our clients, if they're willing to engage with us in this way, is to, have that conversation at the onset. You're building a new building. Wonderful. Before you put a shovel in the ground, right? We're going to be there. We're going to talk about all of the logistics that need to come with that. Also, what does that scale look like? How many people are you adding? What is the plan for growth? What are you trying to achieve? And what are the supports from a technology perspective and sometimes just from a fellow business owner perspective that need to go along with that? If you are not one of my friends from the community, but you are a fellow client or a business owner and you're wondering, what B4 is about, that's literally it. Let's talk about it before you actually start, because planning from the jump being proactive is so much easier than, starting something and going, wait a second, I don't have a full list, I don't have a whatever. You want to be considering all of your options. You want to have time to do research. You want to think about where things are going. And, maybe when you do this thing right now, you may not be ready for something, but before you get to where you're ready, you want to be discussing it, because budgets are a real thing. Planning for financial investment is a real thing in every business. And you don't want to be doing that from behind. You want to be proactively planning for that. I mean, rainy days happen, things happen sideways. I mean, everybody learned that during COVID. But I think more than that, though, the regular things in business, they're all things that we can have discussions about. We can talk about, what does it look like if you had a flood? What does it look like if there's a disaster? Not necessarily from a fear perspective, but from a readiness perspective of, these things just happen sometimes, and we don't need to necessarily be afraid of it. We need to be planning for it so that when it does, much like athletes train their muscles to have muscle memory, you're ready to go. You've practiced, you've done maybe an incident response, you know internally how you're going to respond. To engage with an MSP is to take benefit in that ability to be able to run through those things before something happens. So for us, I know I've said before a lot in this commentary or this video, but that's why. And I just want to give a shout out, and I didn't actually hear the video, I watched the captions, to one of my fellow Auth66. They're the ones who inspired this video today, from Lagniappe. Did I say that right? I probably didn't. I'll probably watch the video and murder myself for it later. But thank you, because I was thinking when I was watching your video, you're explaining how to say your name. I'm just looking at the captions, so I know I probably murdered it. And I was like, I wonder if people ask themselves why we are the way we are. So I figured I would explain it for you today. Thanks, everyone. Day 10 in the books.